All right, so unfortunately for everyone involved, you guys, me, your parents, just the wider world, we're going to have a go at dividing decimals. It's a little bit less important, I reckon, than adding, subtracting, multiplying. It's really good to know how to add and subtract decimals because, for no other reason other than you might want to be good at working with money, right? Go to the shops and add up what you bought because there are decimals involved with that. Multiplying is really important as well, right? Because you might go to the fish and chip shop and buy 15 dim sims, and your dim sims cost $1.45 each, right? You want to know how much your dim sims cost. Dividing decimals, I don't. It's not as important because it's really hard to think of a real life example where you divide a decimal number by another decimal number. Plus, you guys have calculators, right? So we're really just trying to keep your brains busy. But let's have a go and see how you guys handle it. So division's usually not everyone's favorite. If you already know how to do short division, so set it out properly and put the numbers in the right spot and do your division, then you already know how to divide decimals. You might just not realize it. If you've forgotten how to do short division, we'll give you a quick recap on how to set your stuff out. And hopefully you'll have a bit of recognition or remembrance of your division facts, or you might be peeking at the back of your book at the times table charts on it. But we'll see how we go, and we'll see how you guys handle dividing a decimal by a number or another decimal because it's a bit tricky. So let's just have a little quick look at how we set out our division questions. So with a question like 12 divided by 4, we don't need short division to do this. We know that 12 divided by 4 equals 3. But let's just practice setting out correctly, right? So this bad boy down here, here's the division symbol. Okay, and we're going to be setting it out like this today. With your decimals, it's a really good idea to just do that, even if you know the answer. And what we then do is we put our number that's being divided, which is the 12, right? The 12 is the number being split up underneath the divided by symbol, and then the number that's doing the dividing, right? Because we're dividing by 4, the 4 goes out the front. Okay, so it's set out like that. I've got the 12 underneath the 4 there. Then I'm ready to start dividing the 4 into the digits of the 12 and putting the answers on top, right? So I can't divide a 1 by a 4, so I put a 0 there. Then the 1 and the 2 hook up, and now I'm just dealing with the number 12. And then we just still have to know off the top of our heads that 12 divided by 4 is 3. Right, so in this case, we didn't need to set it out like this, but we're just showing you, right, that this number here goes underneath, so I can actually divide it and put the answer above it, and the number doing the dividing, in this case the 4, it goes out the front. All right, so for my next trick, we're going to deal with a couple of numbers that look like this. Right, so we've got 1.2 divided by 4, so very, very similar to the last question we did, which was 12 divided by 4, which we just knew. And people see questions like 1.2 divided by 4, and they're already upset that they have to do divided by to start with, but the fact that there's now a decimal number in our work complicating things for us, they don't like it, right? But we've just got to stay calm and just apply what we know about divided bys, which is the number that is being divided, the one that we're splitting up, goes underneath. So I chuck a big 1.2 underneath there, and I put a 4 out the front. Okay, and then we can calm down, take a couple of deep breaths, and just start doing our dividing just like before. Right, so if I had it set out like this, I would then just start my division process. I'm chucking the 4 into these to see if I can divide them. So I can't divide 1 by 4. 4 is bigger than 1, so 4 doesn't go into 1. So I say 4 goes into 1 0 times. And then we're hooking up the 1 with the 2, and we're saying it's not 1 and 2, it's 12. Right, that's what we do if we can't divide part of our number here. We just connect it to the one next to it. So now it's 12, and 12 divided by 4 is still 3. The last thing to do, though, is to worry about this decimal place, but with decimals and dividing, it's pretty easy. You just bring that dot straight up and put it there. Right, so 1.2 split into 4 pieces would give me 0.3, right? 0.3, 4 times makes 1.2. It makes sense forwards, it makes sense backwards. We have an answer to a decimal division. If you're looking for an example to put in your glossary or to put in your book that you can refer back to, we've got it here with the explanation of what's going on, my decimal division didactic dissertation. It's very simple. When writing your answer, the decimal point is going to come straight up. Right, so we can put that in our answer as we go. Everything keeps its correct place value that way, and my answer makes sense. Right, I have this number, 9.69, right, it's 9 and a bit. I'm dividing it by 3. We should know that 9 divided by 3 is 3, so my answer should be 3. So I've got to make sure my dot goes in the right spot so I get an answer that's 3, not 30 or 300. So with our divided bys, we always go left to right, which is tricky because everything else would go right to left, but oh well. So 9 divided by 3 is 3. I move across, there was no remainder, good for us. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And 9 divided by 3 is 3 again. Our 3 went really evenly into all our digits, so we had a good time, and then we just put the dot above exactly where it was, right? It was in between this and this, so it should be in between that and that. And we have an answer, and our decimal point is in the right spot. All right, so for those of you that have been handling division really well this year, and unfortunately for those of you that don't, you've got the same problem. We don't have remainders in decimal numbers. We don't need to. At the start of the year, when you were doing division this way, we let you cop out and put a remainder at the end. Because we're working with decimal places and decimal numbers, we don't need remainders because we can just make more decimal places and just keep cancelling and dividing till the remainder disappears. So we've got a few steps for you. Okay, so we're going to try and do this division. There's going to be remainders that pop up, especially by the time we're done. So we've got a few steps to follow. So we'll talk about what they mean when we get there. So we'll start doing some dividing. So we're going to start with this 4. We're going to go this 4 divided by that 4, and that makes 1. And we're going to put the decimal point up straight away so we don't have to worry about him, right? He just floated up and he's in my answer. Now I want to divide 2 by 4. But I can't go 2 divided by 4 because 2 is smaller than 4. So 4 goes into 2 0 times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook that 2 up with that 7 and say that I'm doing a 27. So I want to go 27 divided by 4. So I'm thinking about how many times 4 goes into 27. And it doesn't go in evenly though, right? So 4 goes 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, right? So I can get 4 into 27 6 times before I've gone too far. But 4 lots of 6 is 24, not 27, so it didn't go evenly. So in the past, we would have let you write remainder 3, because you have a 3 left over. But now we have a few steps for you to follow, okay? So once we get to the end and we have a remainder, whatever remainder we get, we have to put the remainder in our dividend. And if you don't know what a dividend is, well, we're about to tell you. This thing here, right? This thing here, this is the dividend. The dividend is the name of the number that we're actually dividing. Okay, so we're going to put the remainder down the bottom in our dividend. Okay, I had remainder 3, so I'm going to put a 3 there. Right, because it's a decimal number, I can just add a decimal place to it. Then I have some more dividing to do. Right, I want to go 3 divided by 4, but I know I can't go 3 divided by 4. If I could have, it wouldn't have been a remainder. So I have to attach a 0 at the same time I do it. I like to put it just underneath it, otherwise it can get messy going across. Okay, so I put the 3 remainder down the bottom with a 0, and I'm basically saying that it's 30. Okay, so I'm going to go 30 divided by 4. All right, so to get 4 into 30, it does go in 7 times, because 7 fours is 28, but 28 still didn't get me to 30. Right, I fell 2 short. So I've got 2 more remainder. So again, I put it down the bottom with a 0. And that number is now 20. Right, we're going to try and divide 20 by 4. 20 divided by 4 is nice. It's 5. So I've now fully cancelled out that remainder. I just ended up with a few more decimal places than what I started with. All right, so bit of a tricky concept, but it is just a matter of putting that remainder down the bottom and just keep going, right? Keep trying to divide until you can't divide anymore and that remainder disappears. And hopefully it's not one of those recurring decimals that goes forever. Otherwise, you won't be doing any more maths work apart from this for the rest of your lives, because you'll be answering this one question for eternity. So hopefully you don't get stuck in a perpetual loop of decimal division and you can handle the questions we've set for today. Good luck and have fun.